The thoughts, views, and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, callers, and advisors on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of the management, ownership, or production unit of ILS, the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be represented in part or entirety without the express written consent of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved.
Coming up tonight, the government is pushing back against claims on the one tax system. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. We get started with that inland revenue tax system or new BIN number requirement that's set for rollout on September 1st. Is it a first step forward to introduce income tax? Well, that's the real sort of train of thought and conversation on the streets since yesterday. Communications Director in the Office of the Prime Minister, Latre Raming, says the initiative has been publicly outlined for years. First, announced by the Prime Minister in 2023, reiterated in 2024, and detailed by Finance Minister Michael Alkitis during this year's budget debate.
This is not the beginning of income tax. For years, Bahamians have expressed frustration at having to go in circles to access government service and to meet their obligations. One Tax Bahamas responds to those concerns by creating a modernized digital platform to which Bahamians will progressively be able to manage VAT, business license, real estate property taxes, and other services in one place using a Bahamas identification number. For Bahamians, this means a simpler process, less duplication, clearer access to information, and fewer unnecessary administrative hurdles, particularly for small business owners. Importantly, the 1st of September 2026 marks only the beginning of early registration. It is not the full implementation of the system. Services will be introduced in phase, supported by clear guidance, public education, and stakeholder consultation, and a practical assistance so that no Bahamian is left behind.
So that no Bahamian is left behind. There's a lot of confusion there because persons wondered, well, if you have the TIN number, if working through the system of renewing that and getting that in to meet the requirements for that is sometimes so tedious, how will this BIN number sort of just play itself out? A number of business owners in particular are resisting it, figuring, wait, is the government also trying to know and see too much? Well, we're going to get started right there this evening. Joining me tonight is financial education and literacy expert Lamont Ashwood. Lamont, good evening to you. It's great to have you here. I know you've been doing your fair bit of trying to break this down and get Bahamians to at least understand what this new BIN number and requirement is. What is it exactly? We heard the trail a moment ago, but what is it and why is it needed now?
Before we get started, I'd just like to say thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate coming here,
It's good to have you here. Good evening.
Well, the Bahamas identification number basically is, and I only go off information what was online, basically what everyone else had access to. It's said to be like an overarching number or identification. So a lot of business owners would have a TIN. So the BIN is basically meant to be like the umbrella over that, and is meant to encompass different taxes and services on one platform, which is the One Tax Bahamas platform. When you look at it like that, it can create benefits as well as it could cause some friction. As you say, some business owners, they are pushing back on it a little bit. But like everything, it has pros and cons. So.
What do you believe, as far as you've been able to determine so far, and you've been leading a lot of discussions on this, what problems is it solving that somehow the TIN missed out?
Well, basically it's just bringing, from what I gathered, it's just bringing everything in-house under one platform. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the issue I see that gathered, because let's say like your business owners, they have multiple licenses, they pay different forms of taxes. Is now they're bringing under one umbrella just to monitor. It's basically increased
monitoring and an ability to do so.
Exactly.
So then the thought of, wait a minute, this is giving government greater visibility, a keen insight into a person's net worth, for example, let's say you, and everything that you have going on. Instead of having a business license for that and a TIN number assigned to this and the next and all this stuff, this BIN number is then to kind of bring everything together, amalgamate every single activity that you're involved with. Is this a better way for the state to get its fair share and people not to somehow evade taxes in certain areas or certain part of what their businesses are?
Well, it comes down to like taxpayer convenience and compliance and control with the government. So in a situation like this, I would say it does enhance visibility as far as, like you said, if you have multiple companies, if you pay taxes, different things, they could automatically connect Shanique Miller's businesses and say, all right, all this belongs to Shanique Miller. We could get a grasp of probably your net worth. And all of it is basically all in one consolidated place. Instead of it being like, okay, well, she said one thing over here, but she's doing something else over there. But it can be positive. And you know, people, whenever they hear tax, first of all, it's not a new tax, right? It's not a new tax. It's just basically administration. Because I think what we have to say...
Administration trying to tidy up sort of their books and records on an individual, for example.
Yeah, that's making it easier. Because I think we have to separate capability versus new tax policy. And I think whenever people hear one tax, they automatically assume new tax. And it's like, really it's just a form of administration.
But do you think then Inland Revenue or the government did a proper job of they said, hey, we've been talking about this since 2023, but let's be real. What you talk about and what's actually sort of in motion so people see it and get used to the idea, able to digest it and understand it are two different things. And so do you think they have done a sufficiently good enough job right now at the end of August, just days before September 1st, when this is going to be implemented, in ensuring that the people are aware, understand, and have prepared themselves?
I will say that having a communication is not necessarily the same thing as creating public awareness. And because it's said the BIN registration is said to begin September 1st, if I'm not mistaken,
yes,
that's less than a week away. That, even though BIN and one tax bomb has been mentioned for years, there is a question on how much education was provided to the general public. Because a lot of people, when they heard this, is like, this the first time, most people, this is the first time they ever heard
most
about
people,
it.
yes.
And it's like, there is a conversation on how efficient information was disseminated to the general public.
Now let's talk about why are people opposing this so much? Is it really? We heard what the government said, and the government will say what it needs to say when it needs to say it. In the person of Latre that we heard a moment ago, but we've been hearing from many different sort of areas and persons with their thoughts on this, that this is an introduction in a very roundabout way to income tax. Others are saying, I don't need you, Mr. Government, Mr. or Mrs. Government, to be all up in my business in this manner. Are those some of the maybe negative things that you would say are attached to this?
Let's circle back to like what I said earlier about capability. Can a centralized tax system create a capability and ability to introduce a new tax? Absolutely. It does do that. Now, I will take the word of the government. I'm not here to deny whatever they said. It was said that no income tax would be introduced. And there was not an announcement of an income tax. But I totally understand the fear that the average Bahamian faces, because when it was announced, there was more questions than answers. That was the reality of the situation. There was much more questions than answers. So I definitely can understand the average Bahamian saying, you know, is this invasion of my privacy? Are they going after my paycheck? And we live in a country where we have one of the highest costs of living in the world.
Yes.
So the reality is we're getting it from all sides. And that's something that we don't want to bring on, an income tax, because that's going to bleed the people dry.
I've heard people say, you know what, an income tax might be better. What are your thoughts when you compare it with what we have now in terms of VAT?
I would have to sit down and really do an analysis to make an informed decision on that.
And I know you're not representing, in fact, you're not even attached to inland revenue, but let me know if perhaps you can give advice in this next question. What safeguards then do businesses and business operators and those particularly with enormous portfolios, what safeguards do they need to put in place? Because many of them are fearful. I mean, from big business to, I guess, mom and pop, about exactly what you all want to know. The U.S. gives this kind of great sort of Uncle Sam oversight into everything. For the Bahamas, this is pretty new, having to put all your cards on the table. And so how can they go about, one, obeying the law, but I don't know, I guess being smart?
Yeah, the first thing I would recommend is, besides getting all your stuff in-house sorted out, the first thing I recommend is keep up to date with everything the Department of Inland Revenue is discussing around this tax and the bins. Don't take anyone online word for it, because there's going to be a lot of speculation, right? Even like I made a post that a lot of people are looking at. Don't even just take my word for it. Look for official government statements. Also, if it comes to a point like if you have to consult a professional, do that. Because you don't want to get to a point where you're operating in a business and you realize after the fact you was doing something quote unquote out of bounds. Now you have to pay a fine or a penalty. So I would say keep very much up to date with what's going on as far as regulation and just stay abreast.
Speaking of regulation, bureaucracy, that is always an issue, even right now as it relates to VAT and TIN and business license and all that. Do you suppose BIN will help sort of clear the path and the cobwebs that are all over the place, or just make doing business and life here in the Bahamas that much more difficult for business owners?
From my research, I gathered that they are using BIN to kind of reduce that friction for business owners, because like we mentioned, you have VAT, business license, real property tax. So they're kind of like trying to just bring it all together to make it easier. But ultimately, ideas are always good. Everyone has a great idea. Everyone in this room, everyone in this building has a great idea. Ultimately, it's the execution. And the execution is going to really, that's something that should be graded and assessed. So I'm just waiting to see how it will be implemented.
We're all waiting. September 1st. That next Monday or Tuesday, huh? Yeah. Next Tuesday, in fact, September 1st. As we wrap up this evening, Lamont, and you know I guess the crusade that you have going on is really quite impactful, sort of bringing people into the financial field and understanding about finances, whether it's on the government level or whether it's private financing. And their own portfolios, whatnot. But as we wrap up this evening in this segment, what do you want to say to all of them? Because everybody has a business license and a TIN number and trying to navigate and get that done. And now they must contend with this.
Is that camera on me?
The same one right here.
All right. Be educated, stay informed, and remember, a lot of people will be out there spreading misinformation. So please just make the best decisions and be very careful of who you listen to.
I thank you very much, Lamont Ashwood, a literacy and financial expert really here in the country and doing a lot. A number of people depend on you and are coming more and more to value your voice and your opinions in finance. And so thank you for being here this evening.
Appreciate you having me.
It's good to have you here. Well, when we come back, the Hot Topics panel joins me. They give their thoughts and opinions on BIN, and then we will take the show and move it forward. By the way, did I announce that Temperature Check is returning? We'll get their thoughts on that. Beyond the Headlines, just getting started. We're back after this.
In fact,
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash, Superwash's newest spokesmodel. And I'm here to tell you about Superwash's large capacity washers and dryers for all your big loads.
I know I see that Charlie Banana coming here just now.
Luckily, it's also big enough for me to hide it.
I thought he was right over here where these large capacity washer and dryers is. It's big enough now to handle your big loads, you know. Yeah, like your comfort on your blanket. Well, just look at us. Somebody forget to turn on the dryer. Oh,
Stop!
damn! You hear something? Yeah, that's the sound of clean. Superwash washes your process you and entertains you 24/7.
Renovating your apartment? Furnishing an Airbnb? Or just want that hotel-grade look in your home? Then stop by Black's Liquidation Center at Town Center Mall. Get the complete Queen package for just $899 or go King for just $999. Not looking for a complete bedroom? No problem. Shop our hotel inventory piece by piece. Ceiling fans for just $40, love seats for $150, bed benches starting at $50, floor lamps for $65, nightstands starting at $60, queen headboard and frame sets for just $175, plus mirrors, desks, king mattresses, king headboards and frames, and so much more. Whether you're furnishing one room or an entire property, we've got liquidation prices on quality hotel inventory. And yes, local delivery is available. Visit Black's Liquidation Center at Town Center Mall or call 359-2372 today.
Here at CBS Bahamas and the CBS Pro Store, we believe in our prices. That's why we offer our price match guarantee. If you find any of our items being sold for a lower price than any of our competitors, whether that's online or in store, let us know about it and we'll beat the price right there on the spot. No one does it like CBS Bahamas. Learn more at cbsbahamas.com.
My name is Charles Wesley Gould. My organic farm is Nice Layers Organic Farm. I have 230 birds up here. I give them fresh water, pumpkin, lettuce, cabbages, all the vegetables. Anything what I eat, they eat. Right now we sell the eggs for $7 a dozen from Monday to Friday. On Saturdays, you can get 4 dozen eggs for $21. I'll be located on Jamaica Road, western side, Silverstone Primary School.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. Good to have you all tuned in this evening. Now, of course, in the first segment, you heard me speak with Lamont Ashwood, a financial and literacy expert making the rounds here in the Bahamas and in growing popularity. But he talked about BIN and said, really, it isn't altogether bad. In fact, it may not be bad at all. However, it's a little chafing that's involved for business owners who figure, how dare you all get into all my business and want to know everything about what it is I'm doing. And this is what the BIN is intended on doing, amalgamating a person's portfolio so that, I guess, Inland Revenue has an idea or a better idea of what an individual is doing. Well, how does the Hot Topics panel feel about that? You've heard all the interpretations of what this BIN requirement or addition is expected to do, but we've heard from the authority, Latreille Ramming, we've heard from Lamont Ashwood, and they say couldn't be further from truth. And so let's go in right there this evening and let's begin with the Hot Topics panel discussion. Good evening, Ellington Ferguson. Good evening, Glenroy Pratt and Howard Johnson. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's great to have you all here.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, colleagues, and good evening, Bahamas. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. Good evening, colleagues.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, colleagues, and good evening, Bahamas.
Gentlemen, good evening once again. Let's jump in, you all. This, I imagine, Howard, with you, I imagine a BIN isn't something new to any U.S. citizen, resident, whomever it is, because it's I guess it's similar to the income tax structure and system in the United States. But in the Bahamas, the issue is you trying to know too much and have access to everything I own. That will not work very nicely for a state, for example, would it?
Well, Shanique, when you look at it from that perspective, I do understand the merits of what Mr. Latreille Ramming is talking about when he talks about digitizing and streamlining and bringing everything under one umbrella. That makes perfect sense. However, the political implication that Mr. Latreille Ramming doesn't want to talk about is the fact that within the next 5 to 10 years, in my estimation, we are going to have an income tax in the Bahamas. And this system that's being created or crafted or implemented is going to be part and parcel of that system. So whether it's the PLP government, or an F&M government, it's coming. Latre knows that. Mr. Pintard knows that in his remarks when he talked about what should have been done, public consultation, and all of these other things. The minister or the prime minister should have been the one to talk about it. Look, we have an open economy in the Bahamas, and an open economy is part of our international business and financial center status that we've developed over the years. We've built ourselves as that. And as an open economy, we have to ensure that we comply with whatever the international tax standards are coming down from the OECD and the like. We can't escape that. If we want to continue having access to capital markets and clients from the developed countries, we are going to have to understand that we will have to comply and have some level of income tax in the Bahamas coming up very soon, sooner rather than later.
Ellington and Glenroy here in studio, you heard Howard. Howard said, you know, they can dance around it as much as they want or say not now, no, this is not it. But income tax will be a reality in the Bahamas at some point.
To the extent that that's a reality, it's very interesting. I don't think right away, because obviously something of that magnitude takes a lot of time and effort to get it started. And I consider the realities of the former implementation of VAT when it came on stream, where there was supposed to be some reductions to customs duty because of the implementation of VAT, but that had not happened right away, and therefore Bahamians were paying up to their eyeballs in VAT tax along with customs duty. So it was a combined scenario where we were losing lots of money as an individual customer and citizen. But this whole concept of a tax bin is basically a consolidation, as indicated by both Latreya and the previous guest. This is obviously a consolidated method to ensure that the government has visibility on assessing wherever the tax is, and that will give the government much more ease in terms of collection. Right. It obviously will cause a scare to a lot of people who may be trying to evade paying taxes, but the reality of it is now going to be visible for those who are collecting to see it in a one form structure. Mm-hmm. The disadvantages obviously are those individuals who may not have the wherewithal to go technological in terms of their businesses and how they operate their businesses is going to impact those individuals. It's going to impact those who have data challenges, obviously, with the fact that all this power and internet accessibility is also another factor that's going to impact them. And then the whole knowledge base and the rollout itself is going to be some challenges that people are going to face. And obviously, as with anything that is implemented, it takes time to be progressive. Mm-hmm. and to see its true results. But the foundation of which Howard was speaking to is what is more of the concern for me, whereas this is just the foundation of what is to come. And that is what's the frightening part of it, because obviously if you're going to borrow people money, they will dictate to you how you should spend or how they expect you to pay it back and all these other things. And so those are the things that we got to be mindful of and look at it as we continue to see the government continues to borrow and all this other stuff and who they're borrowing from.
But I mean, which nation ever, Ellington, Glenroy, Howard, can move forward and progress without going to those global lending agencies and borrow? Which nation?
Well, it's to the extent that you have corporate responsibility, right? And also the people themselves have to be holding their government accountable. One of the challenges is, and as quoted by Aristotle, I think it was, that the failure to participate in politics causes us to be governed by inferiors, but not inferior in the sense of their capabilities, but inferior in the sense of the mindset towards you, because if it's going to benefit themselves, then they will make every effort to spend every dime coming in and to elevate themselves and their families and generations unborn. There's a monopolized wealth gain structure that's in the system that needs to be broken, but that's a whole different topic, but it also in alignment with where taxes come into play and why we are laden and burdened with the tax structure that we face in this country.
Shanique, I think Mr. Asper done a pretty good job in explaining what was going on, what is happening here with this bin that the government is introducing. And I think he said it well when he said that when you ask him about whether this is leading to income tax, not necessarily so. He alluded that he takes the government word that this is not income tax, and I also accept that. But one thing he did say is that what this kind of bill to set a foundation, so if the government so desire to go in that direction in the future, they'll have a platform that they can ease right into that. And so, but for the government explanation, and I hear Latre ramming, of course, you may have said it 2-3 years down the road. You are legislators. This is something you do every day. You said something 2-3 years ago. Now you come to implement it. You've got to come and begin a conversation when you come to the point of implementation.
They absolutely dropped the ball here. Not that I believe in spoon feeding a population, but you dropped the ball. There's no way you think 3 years ago when you mentioned this that was sufficient, and you said not one word until this week. This week to say implementation in 6 days.
I think that is where the big problem really comes from.
Taxation. Something as significant as taxation that impacts us. See, governments of the Bahamas and the Davis administration that's in right now, you all have to learn and understand. Look at what happened with another hot button topic issue the other day. That amendment to the human trafficking thing. You see, there was no widespread consultation. There was no education campaign. And guess what, Shanique? I heard you said they don't have to spoon feed. You are absolutely correct. When the government was given the mandate on May 12th to govern again, you don't have to consult, You can pass the laws because you have the mandate to govern. But there's going to be a referendum on every action you take as the government. And that referendum is going to be the next election date. So you can have a short consultation period, you can have no consultation period, and you can have a long consultation period. But there is going to come a day when it's going to be tested as whether or not what you did was the right thing to do.
Gentlemen, this is why let's move forward quick, because we're going to have a little referendum of our own coming up in the show in just a second as I bring back temperature checks to officially start next week. But we just going, just play around a little bit. Now, you all, a very serious matter here, as if losing their loved ones in a tragic and unexpected plane crash wasn't painful enough. Nearly 2 months later, families of some Independence Day crash victims say they are still waiting for answers with no clear path to closure in sight. Linton Ritchie Jr. has been following the story and has this update.
I don't have no answers. We live in this every day. Y'all know what it's like. I look exactly like my twin sister. I have to look myself in the mirror every day, and I trying to be strong, but I have to look at the same face what Toniqua had.
Among the 10 people killed in the Independence Day Flamingo Air crash, the remains of the only female passenger, Toniqua Gilo, and the youngest person on board, Nicholas Oliver Jr., have yet to be returned to their families. Their deaths, along with the other 8 victims, sending shockwaves across the nation as the ill-fated flight ended in tragedy while en route to San Andres. Their bodies reportedly badly burned, leaving identifications to be done through DNA analysis. Gilo's twin sister, Tamika Barrett, and sister, Santasha Roll, say the family was supposed to visit the Princess Margaret Hospital morgue Wednesday morning, but did not, as they were afraid to face yet another letdown.
Do we even try if they're giving other people to run around? You know what I mean?
It feels as if we are in a world that does not even exist. There's no one reaching out to us.
Mother of Oliver Jr., Anastasia Roll, echoing similar sentiments with no confirmations from the relevant authorities to dispel speculation. She remains overwhelmed with grief and frustration.
After this happened, it's like everything gone, like that's it. Like they forgetting we lost our loved ones, you know. I've heard like the remains came back, I think day before yesterday. I don't know where they get it from, I'm not sure.
Their only desire now is to put their loved ones to rest, as other families involved in the same crash has done so in recent weeks.
I don't know what to expect. I haven't seen anything to say my son or whatever, so I reliving it like I waiting for him to just come back home.
We don't know what condition the corpse are in, and it's like it's an animal. They don't care. It hurts to know that my baby is where they have her, and I don't know what condition she is in.
It's a dreadful, traumatic chapter for these families that they hope to soon close. And with that in mind, they had this final message for authorities.
These people mad at us. My sister wasn't just Toniqua. She was Toniqua Love. Give us an update, please. Like, we don't know what's going on.
Say something. Keep us informed. It's our loved ones and we need to know and we need to move forward.
It's so unfortunate, panel, to hear those families. We understand that this is an investigation that still, it may be sort of distant now for the majority of the population. And of course, we remember that because nobody easily forgets that. But, you know, and we are, our thoughts and prayers with the family. But again, this is still an active investigation, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this is the experience that they're having, and the reality of it is it does take time to deal with such important matters, because obviously they're not just dealing with it for closure of the family, but they're also dealing with it for a position of trying to prevent this from happening again. And so when you have those things at play, it takes much longer than many people would like, but that's the reality. It has to go through a process, and we pray that the family is comforted as best, through God as much as possible.
My heart goes out to the family, and I understand their pain and their grief. However, process as relates to properly identifying the bodies that have been burnt and in some case mangled or dismembered in the wreck. So those bodies had to travel off. You heard the minister talk about the next time, hopefully we'll have our own proper identification system. So they must go through that process. It's a very long, drawn-out, painful process. My heart goes out for them.
Yeah, and Shanique, you know, these people were taken away very quickly. You know, I mean, some of them, as they were boarding the flights, were talking to their family members, saying, you know, see you when we land, or I'll let you know when we land. And then they were gone. And so now you have that interim period where there's investigations, identifications, like Ellington has said, and all of these things that are going on, and there's no contact with the family. And be that as it may, you know, and then there's no burial and stuff for closure. There is no closure. So as all of this stuff is playing out, they just have to deal with the fact that their loved ones were gone in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye, and now they are waiting for some sort of closure so that they can now go and bury their loved ones and then get on another closure journey. And so it's very sad. It's very heartbreaking. It's very difficult for them. And they're just hanging on to any little thing that, you know, can give them some information and make sense out of what seems like an alternate reality to them. And so, you know, once again, our condolences goes out to them, our hearts goes out to them, and our thoughts and prayers goes out to them at this difficult time.
It is heart-wrenching, and perhaps they should be spoken to, or at least made to understand of this, I guess, the process.
Keep updated, regular updates.
They should be given some sort of information. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to shift gears. We know that school opens on Monday, and a lot is being done in preparation. We saw the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Education, talk about bringing in teachers and trying to address the shortage. Well, Chester Cooper is now addressing the controversy over C.B. Bethel Senior High School's backpack policy. I have not heard of this one, which has drawn mixed reaction online ahead of the new school year. The school says students must carry plain blue or black backpacks, a requirement that has raised questions among some parents and students. Cooper says he's not aware of this specific rule, but stresses that school policies should not impose unnecessary restrictions and must be reasonable and in line with established standards.
Events, and in fact, in my living room right now on the way to Exuma, it's about 500 backpacks of multiple colors there. They're beautiful, and I don't believe that there's any school restricting them in the public system, that is, to a specific color. But let me just say that we try to keep standards. We try to have all of our students looking uniform. We think it's good for order. We think it's good for the environment. And I certainly expect that these rules are going to continue. Rules are important, laws are important, and that's how you keep an orderly society. But as it relates to uniform and standards and grooming, I think it's important. No child is turned away if they have religious reasons, for example, for wearing their hair a certain way. And it's working. I haven't heard it to be a controversy, quite frankly.
Yeah, I don't know if he addressed the bag specifically, but gentlemen, I want us to address the bag, that's for sure. Because I'm all for being in line with guidelines and rules and regulations, and students with their, whether it's their hair, their uniform, the length of their skirt, the tightness of a pants or anything like that. But so the bags must be black or blue? I mean, what else? Are we going to focus on the fact that these kids can add 2 and 2 and get 4? Because I'm wondering, gentlemen, does the color of a bag, I don't know, are they true? I mean, a little boy showing up, is the male population showing up with pink bags? I mean, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what it is that they could be directing at and trying to bring in line when it comes to the color of a backpack.
I think primarily it's more to do with the look of some of the bags, I guess, because you have these bags that have all these funny faces and all this other stuff on it, but and I understand perhaps maybe that's the direction they want to go with, but the reality of it is the timing of it is totally off. If that was a process or something that you wanted to implement, you should have spoke to that at least at the end of the school term, and then have that be implemented over time. But that's not going to fly just days before school opening, and people are already strapped for cash and all this other stuff.
When you say pictures on bags, is it something that kids glue on their bags?
No,
What is it?
I forgot the name of the bags.
Characters.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the
Now,
bags.
that's totally primary school. You're talking like Bildora and whatever.
These bags aren't cheap bags, though. Don't.
But so what if they want to go and have their favorite character on a bike at that age?
Let me say this, Shanique. First of all, I think if there is a problem, and I'm almost certain there is a problem why the school is taking certain initiative, and they did say it's reminding. So obviously they have had this conversation with either the PTA or the students themselves. But sometimes there are circumstances that are taking place. The conversation should have been had with the education department so that this could have been a wider policy probably if there is a problem. But sometimes there are things associated where you'll see a certain character that is associated with a certain gang. And sometimes these are the things that schools are dealing with. They want to kind of curtail it. And so they say, well, okay, everybody will be uniform. I'm not sure what it is, but I think it should have been made known to the Ministry of Education. The minister should, obviously he was blindsided by it. He's not aware of what's going on. And but sometimes you never know what is going on in these schools. These teachers and these administrators understand, and they try to curtail some things. So.
The spray ground backpack, that's what they call them.
What is it?
Spray ground.
Yeah.
Spray ground?
Spray ground, correct.
I wish we had, I really, I wish the guys in the back could have pulled that up so we could see it and see what's going on. Howard, did you weigh in very quickly?
Yeah, no.
Very quickly.
I agree with Glenroy. And the thing about it is some of these characters that these kids love today, they have these swords and these other weapons that could be an issue. And then, if it's a security measure, yes. But I care more about the curriculum. I care more about preparing these kids for life. I care more about the BGCSE and the BJC results being improved, and the backpack is just something miscellaneous and residual at this point.
I absolutely agree. Listen, we're going to take a break right now. When we come back, Michael Pintard is responding to former Prime Minister and F&M leader Hubert Ingram. Pintard says, MYOB. MYOB. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.
So don't be profiling anybody. Trust the leader in private lending for your personal loans. Oh, they like the path to financial freedom. Why? Just for you. Come on. Sunshine financing for a ting-a-ling-a-ling. Hey, hey. When you need that money. Car, home, vacation, every. Don't be profiling in this party. Sunshine Finance and ask them for the 000 promotion.
Go 000 with Sunshine Finance. 0 interest, 0 payments, and 0 service fees until 2027. 000. More savings, more freedom. Apply now.
Running out of space? We've got room for that. Welcome to Skyline Storage, your trusted self-storage solution. Skyline Storage offers units from 5x10 to 10x30, climate controlled or standard dry. Perfect for home or business. Located in Westfield Commerce Park, Western New Providence. Your belongings stay safe with gated access and 24/7 surveillance starting at $175 a month. Reserve, pay, and move in online. No phone calls, no paperwork. Visit SkylineStorage.com. Skyline Storage. Storage made simple.
Think you know a lot about money? Then prove it. What if one sound could win you big cash? Listen carefully. Then tell us exactly how much money went through the machine. One guess, one sound, one chance to win. Listen, guess, win. It's the sound of money. Brought to you by 103.5 The Beat. Powered by Island Lux Quick 5.
Wealth should not only belong to a select few. At Investar, we believe the door should be open to everyone. We provide options for planning a better future. Our investment funds are designed to assist you in reaching your long-term financial goals. Let us show you how.
FNM leader Michael Pentard is criticizing the timing of former Prime Minister and FNM leader Hubert Ingram's comments. You remember, I think it may have been last week, when former Prime Minister Ingram said, FNMs, go get someone who can win, who can inspire the Bahamian people and FNMs to return back to the fold, build this momentum, this message of hope and this appeal that will appeal to the majority of Bahamians so that the FNM can be re-elected as government. Remember when he said that? Well, I thought maybe Michael Pentard was in the room as well, but I guess no, maybe he obviously he wasn't, because here's what he said. First, he did say, what's up, man? How you could go out there and say things like this? Then he says, so don't talk to me publicly on a matter if you're sending a message. You all heard that? Big man. He says, I should button that all up by saying, I will make the determination, no one else. Pentard standing on business, big business. Michael Pentard says, I will make that determination of what I do next. But while I am here, to hell with what the other media and whatnot is reporting. Well, they only reported on what the former leader said, the former prime minister said. He says his head is unbowed, safe, and accept. He will pray to God, and he is a soldier for the Bahamian people. He went on to say that, listen, conventions, that's what they are for. They are there to do. But listen, gentlemen, I just want to know your thoughts about how Pentard came out swinging at Hubert Ingram and say, no, sir, first of all, you stand down, mind your own business. When he will determine what he does, and not a minute before.
It reminds me, Shanique, it reminds me of saying, tell Mr. Ingram his time has passed. It reminds me of that saying from former Prime Minister Hubert Minnis. Obviously, Pentard is really realizing now that they keep bringing Mr. Ingram. If you can bring somebody that you think trust, you use Mr. Ingram because you think he has something to say, because you think he has the still love of the people is with him, and he could make things happen, he could bring you over. But now when he said something as it relates to what he thinks the party really needs, then all of a sudden he's not really, really relevant. You got to be careful of these things when you push these in, because you are the leader, you're the one, when you call the conclave and all of that, you all invite Mr. Ingram to come in to speak. So either you love him, either he can speak or he can't. But this is only the beginning in the Free National Movement. We've been here before, this organization, and we're going to now have to look and see how things play out, because it's going to be a rough ride now that Pintard have shot back at Mr. Ingram and tell Mr. Ingram, go fishing. We're going to see how this play out, because obviously he still has, Mr. Ingram still has some influence in the Free National Movement. And what next?
Well, obviously there is a pushback in some sense of the word, but it's not a negative pushback. It's it is a pushback of
What do you think it is, Glenroy?
It's a
sweet potato boy.
Glenroy is one of the most discerning panelists I have from years ago. This ain't just stuff. All of a sudden now he can't discern and properly speak to this.
No, I can speak to it. But there's a reality of it, right?
Tell you take a hike, you don't think that's it?
Well, that's your words, you know. That's your colorful language.
Go to hell. Okay, you said go to hell.
Right. No, but I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. I did hear that. I have a great deal of respect for the man, and I heard that part. He did say that. No, in the actual interview with him, no, he did say it on the show with Shivago.
But still include the part where he say, "Hold up, man, you don't tell me what to do, and if you want to speak to me, then you do so properly. Don't do so publicly in a public space."
He said, "I wish he had not," right? And I understand why you would say that, because obviously nobody wants dirty laundry aired on public scenarios. But Mr. Ingram has earned the stripes, and he is a senior fellow. And obviously, when you have a senior person speaking, they say all manner of things. And sometimes it's just the way it is. And so to the degree that you expect to tame his tongue, you have to understand he is a senior man and he has the right to say what he needs to say. But at the end of the day, though, the reality of Mr. Pintard's stance is based on his ability to galvanize the FNM and to take it to the next level. To the extent that people follow that voice, we'll have to see. But obviously, the time is now to be tested.
Have we seen already, though, Glenroy?
Well, I'd say this. I would say that we have seen where people are. And I say that as it looks as of the present moment, we see that there is not a consolidated approach towards support.
So Shanique, we can stick a pin in a future point where there will be a convention as a referendum on Mr. Pintard's leadership. And he welcomes that. He said as much in that interview with Shivago Lang today. Now, here's what I find quite interesting, right? So Mr. Ingram made his remarks, and like Glenroy said, he has the right to say what he wants. He's earned that right. You know, he's paid his dues. He can say whatever he wants. Now, when it comes to being politically tactful now, and knowing that you're going into a convention, knowing that you just suffered a huge defeat, what should have happened is Mr. Ingram should have made those comments privately. And that's concerning for me, because those comments weren't made privately in the lead up to the convention prior to being said publicly. And then based on Mr. Pintard's comments, what I also heard, and I stand corrected, is that there have not been any of those meetings yet that should be taking place within the bowels of the FNM, where they are talking about what went wrong in their election campaign and what needs to change above and beyond just changing the leader. You see, because I believe the FNM is doing themselves a disservice if they believe just replacing Pintard is what is necessary to fix the problems within the FNM. Look, you've been
behind closed doors as yet and had a come to Jesus moment to say, what happened? Why wasn't the message resonating? Why is it that people soundly rejected the FNM?
And I don't think that should be ongoing. It should not be one time. And last thing, Shanique, here's the thing. The FNM always prides itself on how they started. You know, well, we had to start in the fire. You know, we always fighting and we always having these breakdowns and et cetera, et cetera. Look, you're not the party that you were in 1972 at inception. and you're not the party you were in 1975 when it split with the BDP and the FNM was no longer the opposition, official opposition. You are the party that served in government 4 times, and you've been in opposition 7 or 8 times. You are a mature political organization with a brand in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. So this red on red, Ingram versus Pintard, Pintard versus Minnis, Minnis versus Pintard, red on red don't make sense to me because it's supposed to be red on yellow. And when you're doing red on red, yellow will remain the government of the Bahamas.
But that's to the extent that people are communicating that, right? No. Obviously, there are times that it looks like as if there is an in-house battle, but that's necessarily it's not necessarily the case. But also, Mr. Pindar did speak to the fact that they are having consultation from persons outside. They've already started this process of understanding what transpired and what needs to take place. That has started.
Glenroy, it's been over 100 days. And no, say this when I go here, Ellington. It's been over 100 days. You understand? Stop. We are going to now begin to attempt to measure, grade, and analyze the performance of this administration, because it's been over 100 days. You're saying in 100 days the FNM just attempting to do whatever it is you're saying they're doing? Let's go.
While I believe they have ongoing discussion, knowing Mr. Hubert Alexander Ingram, I don't think his comments were made in a vacuum. I think his comments were made based on some understanding of some preconceived notions of some things that he already heard within the discussion that you talk about is ongoing. I do not think his comments were made in a vacuum.
I'm talking about official party meetings, party meetings, not where 2 or 3 are gathered together.
We talking about Howard. We do, yes. The party and the senior officers of the party come together. But listen, you all, let's move on. Temperature check is back, and this time we are turning up the heat on performance.
Oh boy.
Which members of parliament are delivering? Which cabinet ministers are moving their portfolios forward? Whose work is actually depicting progress? Gentlemen, of course, temperature check starts officially next week, but I want to give you all an opportunity. It's been over 100 days now. I want to give you each an opportunity to speak to any one of those areas I just mentioned. The members of parliament who are performing and delivering, the cabinet ministers who are moving their portfolios forward, the individual, whether they wear both hats or just one, who is moving the needle in terms of progress for this nation.
Shanique, let me start by giving a general overall on this administration.
Everybody quickly, please.
And let me compare them. I'm going to compare them with their last term. I think this government came in their last term or their first term, and they was exuberant. They was really energetic. They were getting things done. They were on the ground. You could have seen them. And I think as they come towards the end of the last term, you could have seen the work. You could have seen the things that were beginning. Unfortunately,
almost out the gate, you could have seen them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they have lost steam. They've kind of their sail probably dropped, or they hit a reef of some sort, and now they in a pause moment trying to figure out where do we go, how do we get unstuck off of this reef. But right now, their whole performance now is lackluster compared to their previous performance.
Is it just based on one thing, though, which is the
overall, not just one thing.
Okay,
the power outage, I wouldn't even mention it. It's just a number of things.
It's interesting you say power outages. I wish I could see more of what they've been doing because it's so dark that I can't see the power is out. You know, that's the challenge. But the reality of it is that the government, to me, they have always been great at opposition politics. But however, when it comes to governing and performing, I think that they've always been what they've always been doing. They've always done what they've always been doing. Fluffing, talking, and showing me everything that looks good, but I don't really see it. The cake doesn't have any flavor. It looks good, but the flavor is missing.
But Shanique, I'll quickly say this. I had the sad occasion, as you know, to spend some time in Eleuthera the last few months burying my mom. And I've seen the transformation that's taken place there, both with Sylvanus Petty, my cousin, and Clay Sweeten, the Minister of Works. And more so in central Eleuthera, where Clay Sweeten is, there's capital works projects, there's road works, there's programs that are running and going on. The transformation is evident. It's very clear that Clay is down there working very hard, Sylvanus as well. And I'm just happy about what I've seen transpiring in Eleuthera over the last few years and since the last election.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's the one I choose to talk about.
Are you saying the work continues, Howard?
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you this, gentlemen. Now, this just a little whet your appetite. So if Eleuthera is outside of the power issues, if Eleuthera is moving forward, then those men have gone very quiet. I have not, Clay Sweeting, I don't see you, I don't hear you, you are more visible than this.
You gotta go on TikTok, Shanique. It's called Clay TikTok Daddy, you know.
No, he is though. Clay is the TikTok daddy. Clay is. So then if you have been quiet, you all listen to me. As Ellington said, it appears as though you have no wind in your sails.
Who was the Minister of Health? When last have you heard from the Minister of Health? When last you heard the Minister of Energy? When last you heard from the Minister of Transportation? When last have you heard from these persons? When last have you seen? I've seen Pierre Glow have been doing some work.
The Minister of Transportation have been very busy.
Listen to me. Glenroy, you will be back for temperature check. Temperature check is wide open this time.
I get a fever.
Temperature check is wide open. You all, hey, listen, every week we will be gauging the temperature on performance of this administration and the opposition, every member of parliament, but obviously the government is in the hot seat.
Still getting to the hospital.
I thank you very much, Ellington Ferguson. Glenroy, you find your voice. Glenroy, thank you so much for being here. Howard, thank you for being here. And to all of you tuning in this evening, thank you so much for being here. Of course, tonight's top guest, Lamont Ashwood, thank you very much for shedding some further light and explanation on the bin requirement at Inland Revenue. Thank you so much for being here as well. On behalf of the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Great to have you along this evening.